lot of us live locally, one lives in Orlando. And that's kind of my pride of how you grow up and all that. And those of you that knew Dunedin back in the day, we grew up in Mayberry. It was just such a great place to grow up. Still see people we know. My brother, that's 8 years older than me, still coaches that Little League team. They went to the World Series when Governor DeSantis was on the team, and they're on the way to states again, and he still coaches in that area. So, I like roots. I like being, history of where you've been and things like that. Quick thing about me, I also went to Florida State and played football. The cool thing about that is who you meet, who you get to know. All that time of the work and the stadiums and the playing, that was fun, but it's who you know and afterwards. I was just talking to a tenant of mine. He mentioned Mobile, Alabama. I said, "You're from Alabama, blah, blah, blah." He went to University of Alabama, so that turned into my son's playing football there now. So we started talking about that, and all of a sudden he asked me if I knew two guys. One's a guy I coached at University of Georgia that he's very good friends with. And another one is a guy I saw last week up in Dahlonega, Georgia, who I played football with. And he knows both of them. So it's really cool the connections you get and then the people you meet through that. And that's when people always ask me what was the coolest thing about that, it's those kind of things. You meet the well-known people, you get to meet people you would never meet, but it's the connections you get along with that. I'd like to run down real quickly about the market the last 5 or 6 years. In 2019, a place that rented for about $9.95 now rents for about $16.95. A place that rented in 2019 that rented for like $1,500–1,600 now rents for $2,400. Here's the reason. With some of these houses I'm selling, it's the same owner, he owns a handful of them. I look back and see what their maintenance reports were. I did an AC right before the scandemic hit for about $3,800. With all the new regulations that have been passed the last couple of years on ACs, to help everybody out, it's now $7,800 for that same AC. A roof, same house, same kind of deal I did for $6,000, it's now about $14,000. A hot water heater, if it was done with a handyman, it was about $500–600. Now it's $1,000. If it was done with a plumber, it was like $1,000. Now it's $1,500–1,600. So you have that. On top of that, around the spring of 21, people started getting all this money to stay in their houses. The people that would move because either they needed a roommate, they couldn't afford where they were living, they were a little behind in rent, started just getting this massive amounts of money that was just sent to me electronically. Somebody would stay in there 18 months and not have to pay a dime in rent. So that caused a housing shortage when people were trying to look. Normally people would get a roommate, those kind of things. So that's when the rents just escalated, because I seriously brought in probably close to $400,000 in that kind of money over a 2-year period. Because if they got COVID once, they basically got paid 18 months worth of rent free. So that just escalated dramatically. The market is now starting to have some normal forces to it. The rents are dropping, not dramatically in some areas, but in our area, there are some other areas that are really hurting. Things are sitting on the market a little bit longer. It's not as quick paced as it is. People are panicking back in the day just to have a roof over their house and they don't pay. So now they're a little bit more picky. We do have people that are moving out of a house to get a cheaper house that's very similar, that might be more updated. So you have some of those ideas there. And that's kind of like what happened, but now it's kind of starting to moderate again. It's still very high in rent. Rents are still just very high. It's a sticky product, and it's sticky in economics means it just does something that just doesn't come down once it goes up. There's been some ideas of floating around, people are desperate in election season to try to save things, other than shoot people, but there's been a thought or a proposal to cap rents nationwide. In 1960-ish in London, they capped rents. 58% of the properties that were rental properties were privately owned. Now only 8% are privately owned, and you can't afford it. Very similarly, what happens in a property that's rent control, you get two things. It doesn't get repaired because the owner can't afford to repair it, or you get turnover every year because you can then charge somebody more rent when a new person new rent. It's the renewals that they will allow. So that'd be a very, very, very bad thing if that gets backdoor regulated through Fannie and Freddie, and watch out for that one. That would really hurt the industry. It'll hurt rentals, the quality of rentals, and those kind of things. That's kind of a that's kind of an overview of the kind of a market, some ideas and what's happening with it. My day-to-day basically is just hammering through any of the issues that happen. We have a work order system. A lot of you get those emails on work order systems, you know, constantly. But before I send them, a lot of times I'm checking on what the deal is and why is that. So good property managers are not just going to call up the electrician and say go, and it ends up being something that they could just push the button. So we try to eliminate a lot of costs. About 25% of our work orders are solved by the tenant simply by asking questions. Our system's automated to ask those, then we call and ask again. Every once in a while it happens, I'll send Mike out and it's for a roof leak and it's the AC. But you know, it's raining and you can't tell the difference, so I apologize for those calls, but you know, it happens sometimes like that. The stress is relieved from the owner and I'll put on me. But if you have systems in place, you can handle it. Great referrals for me are always real estate agents that do not do property management. Loan officers that are helping people buy properties that are investments. They know right there it's investment. Insurance agents because they're insuring an investment property. Sometimes financial advisors because they know what a person has. And then just, you know, out and about, if you hear somebody talking about it, I always joke during football season, if somebody's always grabbing their phone, they're not talking to the rookie, they're talking to the tenant. Because they tend to call on weekends and Friday nights and Saturday nights. So that's it. I want to thank each and every one of you that helped me going down the line, you know, with my businesses, you know, probably 20 times this week, and you and all the way through. Everybody, Mike, and everybody that helps me, Tom, and with my business, and I really appreciate it. And thank you very much.